Jake Morris opened his eyes to darkness. The air smelled like wet earth, and something sweet he could not name his. Head pounded like drums were playing inside his skull. He tried to move, but cold metal bit into his wrists and ankles, chains he was chained to something hard and smooth. As his eyes adjusted to the dim light he saw, he was inside a tree knot. A hollow tree, but a living prison grown from wood. The walls pulsed with soft green light. Veins of silver ran through the bark like rivers outside his cell. He heard voices speaking in a language that sounded like wind through leaves. The elves he had been captured. Jake remembered the battle 3 days ago. His squad had been sent to scout the Thornwood sector near the contested moon of Silverpeck. Thought it would be a simple recon mission. They were wrong. The elven ships had appeared from nowhere there. Weapons were not lasers or missiles, but beams of pure white light that made human shields useless. His ship went down in seconds. Jake had ejected, but his pod landed right in the middle of an elven war camp. He fought. He killed 2 elven soldiers before something hit him from behind. Then darkness. Now he was hooray prisoner of Worth, the first human the elves had ever taken alive. Usually they just killed humans on sight. For 3 years the war had raged across 12 star systems. Nobody remembered how it started anymore. Humans said the elves attacked their colony ships. The elves said the humans invaded sacred space. All Jake knew was that thousands had died on both sides. Footsteps approached his cell. The tree wall rippled like water, and open 3 figures entered. 2 were elven warriors in armor that looked like it was made from beetle shells. They carried spears that crackled with blue energy. The 3rd figure made Jake catch his breath. She was tall and ancient. Her skin was pale as moonlight. Her hair was silver and fell past her waist. Her eyes were the color of storm clouds. She wore robes that seemed to be made from living leaves. A crown of thorns circled her head. But what made Jake freeze was the creature behind Hera Dragon, a massive crimson dragon with scales that gleamed like rubies. Its eyes were golden, and intelligent smoke drifted from its nostrils. The chamber suddenly felt very small. The silver-haired elf studied Jake with an expression he could not read. She moved closer. Her guards tensed, but she waved them back. She stood so close. Jake could see tiny silver freckles on her cheeks. She stared at his face for a long moment. Her eyes widened. Her hand rose as if to touch him, then stopped. The dragon behind her rumbled deep in its chest. Sound made the whole tree shake. One of the guards spoke in the musical elven language. The silver-haired woman replied sharply. The voice had the weight of absolute authority. This was no ordinary elf. This was someone important. Guard bowed and said something else. The woman shook her head. She turned back to Jake and spoke in perfect human standard language. Her voice was smooth and cold as winter. She said that she was Queen Isolde, Silver Windriller of the Thornwood, Empire Keeper of the Ancient Groves, mother of the lost princess. Jake swallowed hard. He was being interrogated by the enemy queen herself. That was not good usually. That meant torture or execution, or both. Queen Isolde asked him his name. Jake considered lying, but what was the point? He told her his name. Jake Maurice Corporel, human. Defense Fleet Service number 729 for Alpha. The queen tilted her head. She asked where he was born. Jake said Earth, the old homeworld sector called North America City, called Harmony Station. 4 years ago, his brother Daniel died 7 years ago in an accident at a research facility. He had no one left. That was why he joined the military. Nothing left to lose. The queen went very still. Her face looked like it was carved from ice. She repeated his brother Daniel Morris. Jake. Queen turned to her guards and spoke rapid commands in Elvishwan. Guard protested. The queen silenced him with a glare that could have melted steel. The guards bowed and left. Now it was just folded her hands in her lap. She told Jake that she would. Jake had ever been to the neutral zones, the border regions between human and elven space. Jake shook his head. He had been a soldier for 3 years before. That he worked in terraforming, boring, technical work, making dead planets breathable. The queen asked about his brother Daniel. Again Jake felt old pain twist in his chest. He said Daniel had been a scientist, a xenobiologist, studied alien life forms. He worked in the neutral zones for years, studying ruins and ancient species. Then 7 years ago, there was an accident, an explosion at the research station. Daniel died. The Human government sent Jake a box with Daniel's medals and a letter saying he died. Serving humanity, that was all. The Queen was quiet for a long time. The dragon moved closer. Its massive head lowered until it was level with Jake. The golden eyes stared into his. Jake felt something brush against his. Dragon was reading his thoughts. Jake tried to resist, but it was like trying to stop an ocean wave. The dragon saw his memories, his childhood with Daniel. Last message from his brother at the funeral, the grief, the anger. The dragon pulled back. Sound like a deep horn. The Queen looked at the dragon. The dragon looked at the Queen. The Queen stood. She walked to Jake. She knelt beside him. She reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were cool. She traced the line of his jaw, his cheekbones, his eyes. She was examining him like he was a puzzle. Then she said something that made no sense. She said that it was impossible after all these centuries. It could not be, but the blood did not lie. Amber would not be wrong. Jake had no idea what she meant. The Queen stood. She told her guards outside to bring Jake to her private chambers. The guards came back in. They looked shocked. One of them was a female elf with black hair and sharp features. Protested in Elvish. The Queen silenced her with a word. The Queen told Jake that she would not harm him, but he would stay as her guest. She needed to show him something that would change everything. Guards unchained Jake, but put silver cuffs on his wrists. The cuffs hummed with energy, probably some kind of power. Damp and earthy, led him out of the tree prison. Jake saw the war camp for the first time in daylight. It was beautiful and terrible. Hundreds of living trees formed structures. Bridges made of vines connected them. Melvin soldiers moved with deadly grace. Their weapons looked organic. Ships that looked like silver seeds floated overhead in the distance. Jake saw more dragons, 5 of them circling in formation. This was the heart of the elven military, and Jake was walking through it as a prisoner. Elven soldiers stared at him with hate in their eyes. Some spat. Others reached for weapons. The black-haired guard commander, Lily Blackthorn, Jake would learn later, kept them back. They reached a massive tree at the center of the camp. It was as wide as a city block and tall enough to touch the clouds. The Queen lived here inside. It was like a palace, rooms carved from living wood furniture that seemed to grow from the floor, crystals that gave off soft light. The Queen led Jake to a chamber with windows that looked out over the forest. She gestured for him to scythe. Did the dragon Ember lay down by the fireplaces? There was a fireplace inside a tree. Somehow it did not burn. Magic? Probably. The Queen sat across from Jake. She pulled out a small crystal from her robe. She held it up to the light. Images appeared in the air, holographic, but not human technology. This was something else. Jack saw to children. They looked about 15 years old. A boy and a girl, twins. They had pointed ears. Alvin, but their faces, Jack felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. The boy had his face not exactly, but close. The same jaw, the same nose, the same eyes. The girl looked similar, but softer, more delicate, but still the resemblance was impossible to ignore. The Queen watched Jake. She watched his face go pale. She watched his hands start to shake. Then she spoke. She said that these were her daughter, Alara. Children, her grandchildren, her daughter, who vanished 23 years ago and never returned. These children were found recently near human territory. They were 15 years old, half human, half elf, and they looked exactly like Jake Morris. The Queen leaned forward, her storm cloud eyes locked with his. She asked the question that would change everything. She asked how it was possible. She asked why her grandchildren shared his face. Jake could not speak. He could not breathe. His mind raced. It was impossible. He had never had children. He had never even met an elf before the war, but those children, they looked like him more and more accurately. Looked like Daniel, his twin brother Daniel, who died 7 years ago. Daniel, who worked in the neutral zones. Daniel, who studied alien ruins. Oh, no, Jake. Looked at the Queen. He looked at the dragon. He looked at the images of the children, and he realized that everything he thought he knew about the war was wrong. The Queen waited for Jake to speak. He could not find words. His mind was spinning like a broken compass. Children in the hologram looked so much like Daniel, it hurt Queen. Solda dismissed the Guardshaven commander, Lily Blackthorn, who protested loudly. The Queen voice cut like a blade. Lily left, but her eyes promised violence if Jake tried anything now. It was just Jake and the Queen. And flowers and rain. He drank. It tasted sweet and made his head feel clearer. The Queen sat back in her chair. She began to speak, she told Jake about her daughter Princess Alara Silverwind, born 300 years ago, when Queen Isolde was young even for elves, who lived thousands of years. 300 was recent. Alara was beautiful and brilliant. She was supposed to meet with neutral zone councils to discuss trade between elves and the other species. She never came. Backsearch parties found nothing, no body, no ship, no trace for 23 years. The queen had believed her daughter was dead then too. Months ago, Elven scouts found something, a hidden facility on the edge of human space. Inside, they found 2 children, 15 years old, half human, half elf. The children had been in some kind of stasis, sleeping for years, protected by powerful magic and technology combined. When the scouts woke them, the children knew nothing. They did not remember their parents. They did not know their names. Someone had erased their memories, but the magic they carried was unmistakable. Royal Elven blood, lineal bloodline. These were the queen lost grandchildren. The queen brought them home. She had the best healers work on them slowly. Some memories were returning fragments. Imagis. The children remembered a woman with silver hair singing to them. They remembered a man with kind eyes who smelled like earth. They remembered hiding. They remembered fear, but nothing clear, nothing that explained what happened. Crystal Lachey activated IATA. Different hologram appeared. This one showed a research station, human design, old, maybe 7 or 8 years old. The image zoomed in on a group of scientists. Jake, in this recording, young and smiling. Next to him stood a woman. She was tall with dark hair and kind eyes. Human, the nameplate on her uniform said. Kate Sullivan's an Orcsiocial queen told Jake that her scouts found this recording in the abandoned research station archives, the same station where Jake brother supposedly died. Daniel Morris had been there working as a xenobiologist. Sullivan had been the lead archaeologist. They were studying ancient elven ruins on a planet called Haven. The ruins were thousands of years old, older than the current elven civilization. The queen paused. She looked at Jake with eyes that held centuries of pain. She said that her scouts found something else in those archives, medical records, genetic test records of a secret project. The human government had been studying something they called Project Unity. The records were fragmentary, most had been deleted, but enough remained to piece together a story, a terrible story. The queen told Jake that 23 years ago his brother Daniel met someone in the neutral zones, an elven princess traveling in disguise. Elothi met at an ancient ruins site. They worked together. They fell in love. For elves and humans to fall in love was forbidden. Both governments had laws against it. The species were too different, so everyone believed. But Daniel and Alara did not care. They married in secret. They had children, Wednesday boy and a girl. They named them Phoenix and Luna. For 3 years, they lived in hiding, moving between research stations, always careful, always watching. They planned to reveal themselves too. Show both species that unity was possible, that love could bridge any gap. But someone found out. The human government, they saw it as a threat. If humans and elves could have children together, if the species could unite, then the war would end. Certain people in power did not want that. War was profitable. War kept people afraid. Fear kept them in line, so they acted. 7 years ago, human military intelligence raided the hidden facility where Daniel and Alara lived with their children. They killed Daniel, shot him in front of his family. They captured Lara, took the children. Alara was pregnant again. The stress and grief killed her. She died giving birth to her 3rd child, but before she died, she used all her magic, every last drop of power. She put the twins, Phoenix and Luna, into stasis. She hid them with spells that would keep them safe, keep them sleeping until someone found them. The 3rd child, the baby, the records said nothing about what happened to that child. Probably died with the mother. The human government erased everything, they declared. Daniel Morris died in an accident. They destroyed the evidence. They continued the war. The queen voice was cold as winter. When she finished the story, she looked at Jake. She asked if he knew any of this. Jake shook his head. Chairs ran down his face. He had not cried since his parents died, but now he could not stop. Daniel, his brother, his twin, the person he loved most in the world, murdered. Not an accident, murdered for loving someone, for having a family, for trying to make peace. And Jake had spent 3 years fighting for the people who killed him, wearing their uniform, following their orders, killing elves. The rage that filled Jake was like fire. He wanted to scream, he wanted to break something, but the silver cuffs on his wrists kept him weak. Gember the dragon moved closer. The great beast laid its head near Jake. The gesture was surprisingly gentle. The dragon spoke not with words, but directly into Jake's mind. The voice was ancient, and Sedember said that dragons could sense. Bloodlines could read the truth in blood and bone. The moment Ember saw Jake the dragon, knew the children Phoenix and Luna carried Daniel Morris's blood, and Jake carried the same blood. Identical twins shared identical DNA. Two Ember senses Jake and the children were connected family. The dragon said that was why Ember refused to burn Jake in battle. Why? The dragon would not let the guards kill him. The children needed, family needed someone who remembered their father. Jake looked at the hologram again, at Phoenix and Luna, his niece and nephew. Children, the only family. Jake had left. He asked where they were. The queen said they were safe in the royal palace, learning about their heritage, but they were damaged, traumatized. They had powers that frightened them. They could use human technology without touching it. Could grow plants with a thought. They were both and neither human, an elf, something, knew something the galaxy had never seen, and someone wanted them dead. The queen told Jake that 3 attempts had been made on the children's lives since they were found assassins, some human, some elf. There were people on both sides who saw the children as abominations, as threats to the purity of their species. The queen had increased security, but she could not protect them forever. She needed answers. She needed to know who was behind the conspiracy. Who ordered Daniel and Alara killed? Who wanted the children dead? And why? The queen looked at Jake with those storm cloud eyes. She said she had a choice for him. She could execute him as a war prisoner, or he could help her find the truth, help her protect his niece and nephew, help her end this war. Jake did not hesitate. He said he would help whatever it took. The queen nodded. She stood and walked to a cabinet. She pulled out a data crystal. She handed it to Jake. She said this crystal contained everything her scouts found, all the fragments, all the clues. She needed him to look at it with human eyes to see what she might miss, to understand the human side of the conspiracy. Jake took the crystal. He asked what would happen next. Queen said that first he would meet the children. They deserved to know they had family. Then they would plan. They would find evidence. They would expose the truth, and they would make the people responsible pay Commander Lily. Blackthorn entered. She had been listening at the door. She was furious. She shouted at the queen in Elvish. The queen replied calmly. Lily switched to human language. She said Jake could not be trusted. He was human. The enemy, his kind, killed her parents. Her sister destroyed her home. How could the queen trust him? The queen voice was steel. She said that Jake's brother was murdered by the same people who started this war, that made him a victim too, that made him an Lily spat at Jake's feet. She said she would watch him if he betrayed them. If he hurt the children, she would kill him. Slowly Jake met her eyes. He said he understood he would do the same in her position, but he meant no harm. He just wanted to protect his family, and maybe if they were lucky in this stupid war. Lily turned and left the queen side. She said tomorrow Jake would meet Phoenix and Lunaton. And Luna tonight he would rest. Guards would watch him, but he would not be in chains. She was trusting him. Jake asked why. Why trust a human? The queen looked at Ember. The dragon looked back. The queen said that Ember had lived for 5,000 years. Dragon had seen empires rise and fall, had watched species evolve. And Dimber said that Jake's heart was truth, that he carried his brother love, and his brother Pan. That was enough. Jake was shown to a room, not a cell, a real room with a bed and a window. He looked out at the alien forest, at the moon's rising over the trees. Tomorrow he would meet the children, his niece and nephew Daniel, legacy, and somehow he would find a way to give them the life their parents wanted, a life of peace, a life where humans and elves were not enemies, even if he had to tear down both governments to do it. Morning came to sun. Jake barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Daniel, saw his brother smiling, saw him in love, saw him die. Guards came for Jake at dawn. They led him through the massive tree palace. Other elves stopped to stare. Some whispered, some glared. Word had spread that a human prisoner was being treated as a guest. It Made many angry, they climbed a spiral staircase that seemed to go on forever finally. They reached a door made of white wood. The guards knocked. A gentle voice said to enter. Jake stepped inside. The room was filled with sunlight. Plants grew everywhere. Not wild, but carefully tended. In the center of the room, two teenagers sat at a table. They were playing some kind of game with glowing stones. They looked up when Jake entered. Phoenix and Luna. Jake's heart stopped. They looked so much like Daniel, the boy Phoenix had. Daniel's strong jaw and bright eyes. The girl Luna had Daniel's smile and the way. Daniel tilted his head when curious, but they also had elven features, pointed ears slightly larger. Eyes and otherworldly grace. They were beautiful in a way that was neither human nor elf. They were something. New Luna stood first. She was cautious. She studied. Jake with intelligent eyes. Phoenix remained seated, but his hand moved to a small knife at his belt. A queen was there too, standing by the window with Ember. Queen Isolde spoke softly. She told the children that this was Jake Morris, their father, brother, their uncle. Luna eyes went wide. Phoenix stood up fast. His chair fell over. They both stared at Jake, like he was a ghost. Phoenix spoke first. His voice was young, but carried weight. He asked if it was true. Jake was really there, uncle. Jake was really there, uncle. Jake nodded. He did not trust. He walked around, Jake studying him from every angle. She said that he looked like the man in her dreams, the man who held her when she was small, the man who sang songs in a language she could not remember. Jake realized she was remembering Daniel, her father. Jake knelt down, so he was at their level 11 though. They were almost as tall as him now. He told them about Daniel. He told them stories from their childhood, how Daniel loved learning, how he always wanted to help people, how he was kind and brave and smart, how he would have loved them more than anything. Luna started crying. Phoenix tried to stay strong, but his eyes were wet. Jake pulled them both into a hug, held onto him like he was the only solid thing in a storm. For a long time nobody spoke. Finally, Phoenix pulled back. He wiped his eyes. He said, they remembered some things now, fragments that made more sense. A woman with silver hair, that was their mother, Princess Alara. A man who smelled like earth and books, that was Daniel, their father, being taken somewhere dark, being put to sleep, waking up alone. The queen joined them. She told the children that she had found evidence of what happened to their parents, evidence of a conspiracy. Children needed to know the truth, even though it would hurt. She showed them the recordings, the medical files, the fragments of Project Unity. Phoenix and Luna watched in silence when it was over. Luna was shaking. Phoenix looked like he wanted to hit something. He said that humans killed their father, murdered him. The queen said yes, but not all humans, just some, just the ones who feared peace. Phoenix turned to Jake. His eyes were full of anger. He asked how Jake could wear a human uniform, how he could fight for them. Jake told him the truth. He said he did not know. He thought he was fighting for justice for his dead parents. For Daniel, he had been lied to. Usta, just like Phoenix and Luna had been, just like all the soldiers on both sides. The war was built on Lusta. Usta looked like he wanted to argue, but Luna touched his arm. She said that Jake was a victim too. They all were. The real enemy was not humans or elves. It was the people who wanted them divided. Jake thanked her. He said she was wise like her father. Luna smiled. It was small, but real. The queen said they needed to find proof, solid evidence they could show to both governments, evidence that could not be denied or hidden. The medical records were fragmentary. The assassinations proved conspiracy, but not who was behind it. They needed more. Jake said he knew where to look. The neutral zone archives, the facility where Daniel worked. If there was evidence, it would be there, but getting there would be nearly impossible. It was deep in neutral territory, guarded by automated defense systems. It's probably being watched by whoever wanted this secret kept buried. The queen said she would send a Cassia, a team, her best scouts, Commander Lily and others. Jake said that would not work. Elven ships would be detected immediately, would be destroyed before they got close. He needed to go. He was human. He knew human systems. He could get past human security. Queen considered this. She said she would not send him alone. Lay would go with him and to other elves who could pass for human at a distance. Plus, Ember the dragon could wait outside the system, ready to extract them if things went wrong. Jake agreed, but first he asked if he could spend time with Phoenix and Luna. He had just found them. He did not want to leave without knowing them better. The queen nodded. She said they had 3 days to prepare. 3 Days before the mission, Jake spent those days with his niece and nephew. They showed him their powers. Phoenix could interface with technology just by thinking it ETH. Made computers obey without touching them. He could sense electronic systems like they were living things. Luna could make plants grow. With a touch, she could heal injuries by channeling life energy. She could sense emotions in other living beings together. They were incredible, but they were also frightened. Their powers felt out of control. Sometimes things happened they did not intend. Once accidentally shut down an entire building power grid because he was angry. Luna once made vines grow so fast they broke through walls. They were dangerous not because they were evil, but because they were untrained. Jake helped as best he could. He taught them meditation techniques, ways to stay calm under pressure, things Daniel had taught him when they were young. Daniel had always been better at staying calm, at thinking clearly when stressed. Jake realized he was teaching them the same lessons his brother taught him. It felt right. In the second day, an old elf came to visit. He was introduced as Elder Thorn, not an elf, but a tree spirit, guardian of the ancient forests. He looked like a gnarled tree trunk that walked. His voice was deep and slow, like roots growing. Elder Thorn said he had watched Alara grow up. He knew her before she became princess. He loved her like a daughter. He said that 23 years ago. Alara came to him. She was frightened. She told him she had fallen in love with a human, that they had children together, that they wanted to bring peace. Elder Thorn warned her it was dangerous, that both governments would see it as treason, but Alara was determined. She believed love was stronger than fire. Elder Thorn helped her. He created the protective spells that kept the twins safe. He wove magic into the stasis pods. When Alara died, her last act was to activate those spells to hide her children until someone worthy found them. Elder Thorn said he was glad Jake was here, glad the children had family, but he warned that the danger was far from over. There were forces that wanted the children dead, forces in both human and elven governments. They saw human-elf hybrids as a threat to their power too. The status quo of Phoenix and Luna lived. If they showed what was possible, then the war would end. The people who profited from war would lose everything. Asked who these people were, Elder Thorn said he did not know all their names, but he knew they existed as shadow council within the human government, a faction of elven purists who believed in racial purity. They worked together in secret, united by their hatred of change. Elder Thorn looked at Jake with eyes like deep wells. He said that Jake would face them soon, that the mission to the archives would be a trap, that they were probably being watched even now, but there was no other way. Needed the evidence. Without it, they could not expose the truth. Jake said he understood. He would be careful. Elder Thorn placed a wooden hand on Jake's shoulder. The old spirit said that Daniel had been brave, had chosen love over safety. Now Jake had the same choice. Would he choose safety, or would he fight for his family? Jake said he would fight. Always. On the third day, the team assembled. Commander Lily Blackthorn was there, still angry, still suspicious, but she had agreed to work with Jake. 2 other elves joined them. Sage Willowmist, who had been protecting the twins. She was a healer and could pass for human, with a Hudon scout, Ash, who was young, and Fesky knew how to move without being seen. The Queen gave them their orders: get to the archive facility on Haven, retrieve all data related to Project Unities, especially anything about a woman named Grace Campbell, the geneticist who ran the project. Get out alive. Simple, but not easy. Jake said goodbye to Phoenix and Luna. They both hugged him tight. Luna made him promise to come back. Phoenix gave him a small stone. He said it was linked to his powers. If Jake was in danger, Phoenix would feel it. Jake took it gratefully. The team boarded a small ship. It was designed to look human, stolen from a battle months ago, repaired and modified. Jake piloted. He still remembered his training. The flight would take 2 days. They traveled in silence. Lily sat in the back, glaring at Jake's age, read old text. Sash checked weapons. Jake focused on flying. On the second day, Lily finally spoke. She asked why Jake was doing this. He could have stayed neutral. Let the elves handle it. Why risk his life for children? He just met Jake. Said they were family. That was enough. Lily laughed bitterly. She said family meant nothing in war. Her family was dead. All of them killed by humans. Jake said he was sorry. Lily said sorry did not bring them back. But then she paused. She said that maybe if more people chose family over sides. Laser sights painted red dots on Jake's chest. Admiral Cole walked into view. She was tall and cold gray hair, pulled back tight, 3 stars on her uniform she looked at. Jake with contempt, she said she knew he would come. Eventually blood called to blood. They had been monitoring Elven communications, waiting for someone to investigate. She said it was unfortunate Jake had been a good soldier once. Now he was a traitorly moved beside Jake. Her weapon raised, she said they would not surrender Admiral Cole. Laugh, she said they were outnumbered 22. 1 outgun trap, she gestured, and soldiers moved closer. Jake mind raced. Data crystal in his pocket held everything, proof of the conspiracy, proof of murder, proof that the war was based on lies. Could not let them take. Eth could not let them destroy it. Then he remembered the stone Phoenix gave him. One link to the boy powers. Jake squeezed it hard. He thought of Phoenix, called out mentally, help us. For a moment nothing happened. Admiral Cole ordered her soldiers to fire. Then every electronic device in the facility went haywire. Lights exploded, computers sparked, weapon systems shut down, soldier armor locked up. They could not move, could not shoot. Jake realized what happened. Phoenix had felt him through the stone. The boy was interfacing with the systems from thousands of miles away, using his hybrid powers to save them. Lily did not waste time. She fired at the nearest soldiers. Her weapon made no sound, but they fell sage through something that released thick smoke. Hash moved like shadow. His blade found targets in the dark. Jake ran. He grabbed the data crystal and ran for the exit. Soldiers tried to stop him, but their equipment was dead. They fought with hands and knives. Nowly was terrifying. In close combat, she moved like water, each motion elegant and deadly. Admiral Cole screamed orders. She pulled out an old-fashioned gun, the kind that used bullets not affected by Phoenix powers. She aimed at Jake. Backley saw she threw herself between them. The bullet hit her shoulder. She spun and felled. Jake stopped. He turned back. Lee was on the ground, blood spreading across her armor. Admiral Cole aimed again. This time at Lily. Hedgick did something he did not know he could do. He tackled the Admiral. They went down hard. She was strong, trained, but Jake was desperate. He fought like an animal. He got the gun away from her, pointed it at her face. She smiled. She said killing her would not stop this. There were others, a whole shadow council. They would hunt Jake forever. Hunt the children, make sure the truth never came out. Jake asked who they were. Give me names. Admiral Cole. Laugh, she said. He would never know, never find them. They were everywhere in human government, in the military, even in Elven courts. They were the ones who really controlled things, who decided when wars started and ended, who lived and died. Jake's finger tightened on the trigger. He wanted to kill her for Daniel, for Alara, for everything, but Sage voice stopped him. The healer said they needed her alive, needed her testimony. Killing her would make them no better than the conspirators. Jake lowered the gun. He hit Admiral Cole hard enough to knock her out. Then he went to Lily. She was pale, losing blood. Fast. Sage was already working, hands glowing with healing energy. Said the bullet went through no vital organs. Hit Lily would live, but they needed to move. More soldiers would come. Helped Jake carry Lily. They ran for their ship. Behind them the facility exploded. Someone had set charge to destroy the evidence, but Jake had the crystal. The data was safe. They reached the ship Jake piloted, while Sage kept Lily stable. They broke atmosphere. Shand for pursuit. 20 human ships appeared, fighters, fast and armed. They opened fire. The stolen ship shields held but barely. Jake pushed the engines hard, called out to Ember. The dragon had been waiting at the edge of the system. Now Ember came, a streak of crimson across the black, 5,000 years old, massive and terrible. The human fighters saw the dragon and scattered. Some fired weapons. Ember scales deflected them like rain. The dragon opened its mouth. White-hot flame poured out, not normal fire, but something older, something that burned in vacuum. 3 fighters melted. The others retreated. Ember flew alongside their ship, protecting them, guiding them to a jump point. They jumped. Hyperspace swallowed them. They were safe for now. Lily woke 3 hours later. She was bandaged and weak but alive. She looked at Jake. She said he saved her life. Could have left, or would have left her, but he came. Bach, Jake said, that was what you did for family. Lily closed her eyes. When she opened them again, there was less hate, maybe even respect. She said she was wrong about him not. All humans were monsters, some were just victims like everyone else, Jake asked. If she was going soft, Lily smiled. It was small and pained. She said, do not push it, human, but Jake could call her Lily instead of Commander. That was progress. They returned to the Thornwood Empire 4 days later. Phoenix and Luna ran to meet them. They hugged Jake so hard he could not breathe. Phoenix said he felt Jake call through the stone. He had never projected his powers that far before, but knowing Jake was in danger gave him strength. He had shut down an entire research facility from across the system. Queen was impressed and worried if Phoenix could do that now. What would he be capable of when he was fully grown? Luna healed the last of Lily's injuries. The commander was shocked. She had never felt elven healing before. It was warm and gentle like sunlight. She thanked Luna quietly. The queen assembled her war council. They watched the recordings. Ek retrieved. They saw everything: Project Unity, the murders, Admiral Cole confession, the Shadow Council. The evidence was damning, but the queen said it was not enough. They needed more. They needed to identify the Shadow Council members on both sides, human and elven. Jake remembered something. Grace Campbell, the geneticist who ran Project Unity, Shay had tried to stop it. She had smuggled out the third child. If they could find her, she might have names, locations, everything they needed. The queen sent scouts to search for Grace. They found her 2 weeks later. She was in hiding on a remote human colony, living under a false name, working as a school teacher. The queen sent Jake to bring her back. He went alone. It was safer that way. He found Grace in a small house on the edge of a farming town. She was older, now gray hair, eyes but still sharp. She knew who Jake was the moment she saw him. She said he looked like Daniel. Jake said he was Daniel's brother. Grace started crying. She said she tried to save them, tried to warn them, but the Shadow Council was too powerful, too connected. They killed Daniel, captured Allegraci, had been there when Lara died, had held her hand. Lara last words were about her children, protecting them. Grace had smuggled out the baby, the third child, day girl. She had found a family for Hera, good family far from human and elven space. The child was safe, growing up normal. She did not know about her heritage. Grace said she could take them to but she warned that finding the child would put her in danger. The Shadow Council was still looking, still trying to tie up loose ends. Jake said they needed her, all 3 children, to show what was possible to end the war. Grace agreed, but only if they promised to protect the girl. Jake promised. They traveled together back to the Thornwood. Phoenix and Luna were excited. They had a sister, younger sister. Grace said her name was Maya. She was 7 years old, smart and kind. She lived with a human couple who thought they were adopting an orphan. They did not know she was half elven. Her ears were rounded. Her hybrid genetics had expressed differently. She looked fully human, but she had powers, small ones. She could sense emotions. Make people feel calm. Grace said Maya was special, the most balanced of the 3. Phoenix had more technology affinity. Luna had more nature affinity, but Maya had emotional affinity. She could bridge the gap between species, feel what others felt. That made her the key. The queen approved an expedition to retrieve Maya boot. It had to be careful, quiet. If the Shadow Council learned where Maya was, they would kill her. The team was small. Jaclili, Grace, and Sage. They took a civilian ship, traveled to the colony called New Hope. Pit was a peaceful place, farms and small towns far from the war. They found Maya house's Elliot was yellow with flowers in the garden. Jake knocked on the door. Woman answered. Her name was Beth Morris. No relation to Jake, just coincidence. She was kind and nervous. She asked what they wanted. Grace explained. She told the truth, that Maya was special, that her biological parents were dead, that her family was looking for her. Beth called her husband Tom. They were suspicious, protective. They loved Maya. They had raised her for 7 years. She was their daughter. Jake understood. He said they were not taking Maya away, not permanently, but she was in danger. People were looking for her bad. Pubith and Tom did not believe it. Then the attack came. 3 ships landed in the street, not military, private mercenaries. The Shadow Council had found them. Someone had betrayed them. The mercenaries came out, shooting Jake, pulled Beth and Tom inside. Lily and Sage fought back. The mercenaries had advanced weapons armor. They were professionals, but Lily was better. She moved like death. Her shots never missed. Sage Used magic vines erupted from the ground wrapped around mercenaries, crushed their armor. Maya came downstairs. She was small, dark hair, wide eyes. She saw the fighting, saw the violence, and something happened. A wave of calm rolled out from her like a blanket. The mercenaries stopped shooting, stood still, confused. Still confused. Maya was using her power, making everyone feel peaceful, making them not want to fight. Jake realized how powerful she was, how dangerous in the right hands or the wrong ones. More mercenaries came, too many, they were going to lose. Then Phoenix and Luna arrived. They followed despite orders to stay behind. They could not let their sister face danger alone. Phoenix shut down the mercenaries' weapons. Luna made the ground swallow their ships together. The three children were unstoppable. The Queen called an emergency council. She showed them everything, all the evidence, all the recordings, Admiral Cole confession, Project Unity files, the murder of Daniel and Alarathe, conspiracy that started the war. Some council members believed, others refused. They said it was human propaganda. Trick Commander Lily Stucci told them she had fought humans for years, killed them, hated them, but Jake had saved her life. The children were proof that peace was possible. The council had to listen. Elder Thorne spoke to he. Said he had lived 5,000 years, seen 100 wars. This one was different. This one was built on lies, and lies could be destroyed with truth. Finally, the council voted they would send the evidence to human leadership, demand investigation, to release it publicly. If they refuse, it was a risk but necessary. The human government response came 3 days later. Most denied everything, called it elven lies, but some believed Jiner. Officers, low-level politicians, people who had lost family and wanted answers. A woman named Colonel Amy Preston came forward. She was military intelligence. She said she had seen things, orders that made no sense. Resources diverted to secret projects. She had suspected corruption, but never this big, never this dark. Colonel Amy brought others, a network of humans who wanted truth. They started investigating, quietly, carefully. They found proof, financial records, communications, names. The Shadow Council was real. In 2 days they identified 12 members, high-ranking military, corporate executives, politicians, people with power and money, people who profited from Warren. The elven side, the Queen found them too, a faction called the Pureblood Cortelves, who believed in racial superiority, who saw humans as lesser beings. They had worked with the human Shadow Council, united by their desire to keep the species apart, maintain power through division. The Queen ordered their arrest, but 3 escaped. They fled toward neutral space, taking the planet killer weapon with them. The peace summit was in 5 days. Jake realized what they planned. They would attack during the summit, kill everyone, human and elven leaders, then blame it on the other side. The survivors would restart the war, make it worse than before. The Queen assembled a strike force. Her best warriors led them. Jake volunteered. He was not a soldier anymore, but this was personal. Phoenix and Luna wanted to come. That Queen refused to. Dangerous. They were children, but Maya spoke. Her voice was soft but firm. She said they were not normal children. They were the reason for all of this. Their existence proved peace was possible. They had to be there, had to show both species what they represented. The Queen looked at the 3 of them, her grandchildren, so young, so powerful, so brave. She agreed, but they would stay back, protected unless absolutely necessary. Strike force left the next day. 20 elven warriors. Jake, the 3 children, and Ember the dragon had insisted on coming. Ember said this was dragon business. Tooth, a weapon, was from ancient times when dragons ruled the galaxy. It should never have been found, never been used. They tracked the pure blood court to an asteroid base hidden in neutral space. It was heavily defended. Turrets, synergy shield ships patrolling the pure blood court had maybe 50 soldiers plus the weapon, a massive device that looked like it was grown rather than built. Organic technology. Ant and Terrible Lily planned the attack, fast and precise, stake out the defenses. The sable the weapon, capture or kill the Dotsa pure blood court leaders. Jake would lead a small team inside. He knew human technology could bypass their security. Phoenix would help remotely shut down their systems. Luna would protect the children, keep them safe. The attack began. At midnight, elven ships struck first, silent and deadly. They took out the patrol ships before alarms could sound. Then Ember Attacked the dragon was magnificent scales gleaming in starlight fire that burned through metal. Automated turrets focused on Emberth. The dragon drew their fire while the strike force landed Jake. Team went in through a maintenance tunnel. 3 elves Grace, who knew the weapon and Jake inside was chaos, the pure blood. Court had detected the attack. They were trying to activate the weapon early. 2. Irid at the summit location. Jake ran his team, followed they. Fought through corridors. The pure blood elves were skilled, but desperate. One recognized Jake called. Him human filth said his brother had deserved to Jake. Shot him no hesitation, no regret. They reached the weapon. Control room 3, pure blood leaders. Were there working frantically at controls? Jake told them to stop. They refused. Said the children were abominations. Said mixing species was wrong, that purity must be maintained. Grace tried to shut down the weapon, but the pure blood had changed the code SKU. Could not stop it. The weapon was charging 3 minutes until it fired outside. Lily Force was overwhelmed. More pure blood. Soldiers had arrived from hidden bases, from secret ships. This was their last stand. They were willing to die as long as they took. The peace summit with them. Member fought 5 enemy ships at once. The dragon was bleeding wounded, but would not retreat. Jake looked at the weapon at the ancient technology at the countdown 2 minutes. He called Phoenix, told him what was happening. Said he could try to shut it down, but he was too far away. The connection was too weak unless he was closer, Jake said. No, too dangerous, Phoenix said. It was the only way. Luna said they would come together, all 3 children, their powers combined. Maya could keep everyone calm, keep the pure blood from fighting while they worked. Luna could protect them. Phoenix could stop the weapon before. Jake could argue they were there. The children had taken a small ship, flown to the asteroid. They walked into the control room like they owned it. The pure blood leaders screamed, raised weapons. Maya released her power, that wave of calm of Tease. The pure blood froze. Their anger melted. They looked confused. Why were they fighting? Why did it matter? Maya was rewriting their emotions, showing them the futility of hate. Phoenix touched the weapon controls. His hybrid power interfaced with the ancient technology, human and Elvent technology. And magic, he understood. It could feel its purpose. It was not made for war. It was made for creation, for building worlds, changing planets, making life. Ancients had perverted it, turned a tool into a weapon. Phoenix began reversing the process. 45 seconds. The weapon was still charging, but now it was changing. Luna added her power, her connection to life, to growth. She channeled it into the weapon. 30 seconds. The pure blood leaders broke free of Maya influence. They lunged at the children. Jake and his team stopped Thema. Brutal fight, close quarters. Jake took a blade to his ribs. He did not stop. 20 seconds. Phoenix screamed. The power flowing through him was too much. He was burning. Luna grabbed his hand, shared the burden. They both glowed with energy, human and Elvent technology and nature. 10 seconds. Maya joined them, her emotional power linking her siblings, balancing them, making them whole. 5 seconds. Weapon stopped the countdown. Froze, then reversed. The energy that would have destroyed a planet instead poured out across the asteroid, across the fleet. Green light, living light. It touched the pure blood soldiers. They stopped fighting, looked at each other, saw enemies as people, saw hate as pointless. It touched the elven warriors, made them understand human pain, human hope. It touched everyone in for one moment, one perfect moment everyone felt what Maya felt: connection, understanding, peace. The fighting stopped. Jake fell to his knees. His wound was bad, but Luna was there healing him, crying, saying uncle over and over. And bird crashed through the wall. The dragon was hurt, scales broken, wings torn, but alive. The ancient beast looked at the children, at what they had done. Ember spoke into everyone's mind. This is what the ancients meant, is why they left the weapon, not to destroy, but to unite. These children are the future. The strike force secured the asteroid. Found files, more evidence complete. Lists of Shadow Council members, communication records everything. Leaders were captured. They were broken, defeated, realizing they had lost the peace. Summit happened 3 days later. Both human and elven leaders came where uncertain. The Queen played. The recordings showed the evidence presented. The Shadow Council members who had been arrested. Some leaders denied, but too many confirmed. Colonel Amy testified. Other humans came forward. The truth could not be hidden any more. Then the Queen brought out the children. Phoenix and Luna and Maya. She told their story, showed what they could do. 3 Children who should not exist, who were proof that the species could unite, who had stopped a planet-killer weapon, who had turned hate into hope. Some leaders were moved, others were skeptical. Then Maya stepped forward. She released her power, carefully, gently. She let the leaders feel what she felt, the loss of her parents, though. Loneliness of hiding, the joy of finding her siblings. Hope for peace. Shy let them feel each other. Human leaders felt elven grief. Felven leaders felt human loss. They all saw that the pain was the same, that the war had hurt everyone, that nobody won. A human ambassador stood. His name was Carl Stoney, had lost his son in the war. He said he had hated elves, blamed them for his pain, but now he understood his son died for lies, for power, for nothing. He called for Pyson. Elven general stood. Her name was Frost. Ashwinch had led armies, destroyed human worlds, she said. She had loved war, the glory, the honor. But now she saw the truth. War was not glorious, it was waste. She called for peace. One by one, the leaders agreed not. All some left, some refused. But enough remained, enough to matter. They signed a treaty, human and Elvino. More were shared, borders, joint councils, reparations for victims, justice for conspirators, and protection for the children. Phoenix and Luna and Maya would be symbols, representatives of both species, teachers showing that unity was possible. The Queen made one more announcement. She adopted Jake Morris by ancient elven law. He was now her son, part of the royal family.